They were celebrating in May when Dundee were crowned First Division champions, but they've had nothing to smile about this season. In the City of Discovery, they're finding out just how hard it's going to be in the Scottish Premier League. Tonight from Dens Park, two teams desperate for points to kick-start their season. It's Dundee against St Johnstone. Dundee are searching for their first points of the season, and both sides are looking for their first goal. Dundee need tonight to be the night, with Celtic and Hearts their next two opponents in the league. Injuries have hampered St Johnstone, but their squad is coming together again, and they want to prove they're in a false position, lying 8th in the table. But Charlie Nicholas, are we talking about survival even this early in the season?
Well, I think we could be, because you say Celtic and Hearts next to face Dundee. You can't afford after 5 or 6 games to be isolated, and that could be the case with Dundee if St Johnstone won tonight. I've just got a feeling though Dundee might get it right tonight. I think they have a few problems at the back, St Johnstone. I fancy Dundee for a victory tonight. OK, Charlie, you're taking Dundee? Yes. OK, right, let's get to Dens Park. The rain is falling, and let's join our commentary team, the former Hearts and Scotland striker John Robertson, who had a spell on loan with Dundee last season. And first, it's Ian Crocker.
Thanks, Jim. Well, there's little love lost when these two teams meet. Dundee and St Johnstone are separated by a mere 20 miles. It's a Tayside derby, and the points are precious already. Neither side have been quick out of the starting blocks. St Johnstone do have 1 point. Dundee don't have any. And both teams are still seeking their first goal of the season in the new Scottish Premier League. They've obviously been saving themselves for tonight. Dundee are without Brian Irvine and Sean McSkimming, so Robbie Rayside joins Barry Smith and Stefan Punavaci in a 3-man central defence. They'll be banking on a big contribution from wing-backs Willie Miller and Lee Madison. Veteran striker Tommy Coyne is returned for a second spell here at Dens Park. Another key man is the Polish international Dariusz Adamczuk.
Well, Ian, it's a formation that Jockey Scott likes. It's a 5 at the back. He'll be looking, I'm sure, here for Dariusz Adamczuk to get in that area there. Willie Faulkner to get through with his two tried and trusted strikers, Tommy Coyne and James Grady, both tremendous finishers. It's a young act and the old one, and I'm sure it'll do very well for Dundee tonight.
St Johnstone were boosted this week by the return of keeper Alan Main and striker Roddy Grant from injuries. Both played in the League Cup win at Falkirk. Northern Ireland defender Danny Griffin has been tipped as a future captain of his country. He and new signing from Hibs Darren Dodds are forming a useful central defensive partnership. The shaven-headed striker George O'Boyle, he top scored last season with 13.
Again, it's a very tried and trusted formation for Paul Sturrock here. It's a good 4-4-2, but the man to watch here is George O'Boyle. He'll float into these areas here, he'll float short to receive the ball, and he'll drag people wide and allow this young man, Philip Scott, to get through the middle. Big Roddy Grant will be the target man, and most things will go right through him.
I have to say they've had some serious rain in Dundee today, as the Pipers prepare to lead out the two teams. Dundee the dark blues, St Johnstone in their change kit of mostly white shirts. The Pipers leading the teams out. These are often fiercely contested derby occasions between Dundee and St Johnstone. It's a rivalry that stems all the way back to the 1960s, not just because they're geographically close either. There was a year when Dundee won in Perth at St Johnstone to clinch the First Division title and relegate St Johnstone in the process. Now, the weather in Dundee has been better, I think it's safe to say. That's why they've all pushed towards the back of the stand at Dens Park. The two teams lining up to acknowledge the supporters who have braved the soggy conditions here today. He's one of 4 summer signings from Motherwell. Tommy Coyne back for a second spell here. Goals galore in his first spell. Dundee could do with some in his second spell. St Johnstone have been a little goal shy as well. They'll be banking on their main threat to end their drought, George O'Boyle, who once scored for Northern Ireland against Germany. He'll be hoping for a clean sheet today, probably Douglas in the Dundee goal. As the 2 captains make their way to the centre circle, the referee today is Mike McCurry. And the young mascot, the moment of her life, gets to toss the coin. Alan Main back in business after missing the start of the season with a shoulder injury. Missed the first 3 games, returned and kept a clean sheet at Falkirk in the League Cup in midweek. Now, before the action starts at Dens Park, there will be a minute's silence in memory of the victims of the Omagh bombing. A minute silence perfectly observed at Dens Park. Dundee in the dark blue will be kicking from left to right in the first half. Mike McCurry from Glasgow, the man in charge. Dundee promoted as Division 1 champions, but in the city of discovery, they're discovering that the Scottish Premier League is, to coin an old phrase, a whole new ball game. St Johnstone will kick us off. They came very close to a UEFA Cup place last season. They finished 5th, but were just pipped by Kilmarnock, with whom they shared a goalless draw last week. That was their first point of the season. Dundee yet to pick up a point, and while St Johnstone have managed to advance to the quarter-finals of the Scottish League Cup, no such joy for Dundee. They crashed out in round 2 to 2nd Division Alloa with a pretty desperate performance here, it must be said. Gary Bollan. Scott. And that one was straight onto Danny Griffin's head. No way through for Scott. Alan Preston is fouled, and that will be a free kick. McInally getting stuck in already. Alan Preston with the free kick, St Johnstone. Both teams, remember, still searching for their first league goal. Referee Mike McCurry has spotted an infringement there. It's a little bit early to talk of relegation worries, John, but both teams have got to start getting goals, haven't they?
There's absolutely no doubt about that, Ian. It's a big night for both the teams here. They have not scored in the league yet. They need 3 points. Is a big difference in this league to get you going, and I'm sure it'll be an entertaining clash tonight, even though it may take a little while to settle down.
Bollan, once of Rangers. And it's sprung off the boot of James Grady. Gary Bollan with the throw. Arrived from Rangers in February, Gary Bolam, but broke a bone in his foot straight away. That was a bit of a howler from Griffin, unusually for him. The Northern Ireland international with 7 caps to his name so far. 20 more to come. You'll want to forget that kick in a hurry, though. It's dribbled behind for a goal kick.
Well, I'm sure you'll find here as well there. It's a good tackle. Possibly I thought it was a corner. But if you're wondering why Gary Boland's getting a bit of the bird for the fans, it is because, of course, ex-Dundee United, and he's not too well liked across the road here.
Alan Main's kick, dealt with by Robbie Rayside. Brady. Willie Miller. Dundee fans encouraged by this. And a chance for Coyne, and still he goes! And he can't get any power on his final effort, Tommy Coyne.
That was a very good move there by Dundee. A tremendous ball for Willie Miller. And this young man here, James Grady, he impressed me greatly when I was up here on loan, and that's very unlucky. It's a good promising start.
It's a lively start to this Tayside derby. Boland. Support from Preston. Challenged by Rayside, but Preston can try again for St Johnstone. And he's carved out a little bit of space, but couldn't deliver a decent cross in the soggy conditions at Dens Park. Given straight to Danny Griffin, though, by Miller. Kane, who was sent off on the opening day of the season in a 1-0 defeat at Motherwell. Philip Scott. Free kick going in favour of Barry Smith. Dundee, champions of the First Division last year, but they didn't have a particularly impressive home record. They were very good away from home, though. And Miller is going to capitalise on this loose ball. Grady wants it played early. Dealt with by Dodds. Comes back to Miller. Coyne. Miller. Dundee have made a confident start here. Darius Adamchuk. Rayside. Seemed to scuff at it a little bit. Taken down by Danny Griffin. Smith's header. And Grant gets it back. And the referee, Mike McCurry. Well, there's bodies sprawled all over the place at the moment.
Well, I think it's your typical derby game here, Ian. Right away, there's tackles flying in. This is a critical part of Scottish games at times, but when you get these derby games, there's nothing better than to see a wee bit blood and guts to begin with.
First warning for Willie Falconer. No card, though. Delay to the free kick because Darius Adamchuk needs a little bit of treatment. The Pole, who once scored against England in a World Cup qualifier back in 1993. Something which would have gone down rather well in this part of the world, that's for sure. Chunky Scott, the Dundee boss, took charge in February, his second spell as Dundee manager. His opposite number, Paul Sturrock, has done a fantastic job in 5 years at St Johnstone, taking him to 5th place last season, just missing out on Europe. Ready maybe to take the next step, St Johnstone now. Preston. He was hassled by Coyne, back helping out his defence. He tried to win that for himself, Tommy Coyne, and ended up having a major disagreement with the corner flag, as well as Alan Preston. Gary Boland. It's over the head of Punavachi, but it will drop harmlessly away. Tommy Coyne. can see what he was trying to do.
I think he was a bit unfortunate not to get a free kick there, to be fair, but obviously Alan Preston's been doing his upper body strength there and the circuits are coming off well.
O'Boyle, Punavachi got a little touch in. Already, no quarter asked, no quarter given in this derby clash. Adamchuk happy to let it run for the throw. Coyne trying to tee him up and does. Falconer. St Johnstone haven't got it clear yet, and Coyne is beavering away for all it's worth. And he's done well. He's found Lee Madison. Alan Main will come and collect that, just nipping in ahead of James Grady. I've seen Dundee a few times early season, and they've looked nothing like they're looking so far today, I have to say.
No, they've started confidently. I mean, you wouldn't think this team haven't scored in their 3 previous games. They're knocking it about well, and Coyne and Grady are linking up well and looking very dangerous, so the signs are very promising.
Danny Griffin. Paul Kane. O'Boyle is going to have a go, and I think Douglas will claim he had that one more than covered as he watched it go wide.
Well, this is typical George O'Boyle there, just peeling off, getting the ball. Maybe a little deflection there, but it's an effort and goal and settling the game, and that's what you really want to get your team going.
Boland won the header, and so did Griffin. That will be Dundee's throw.
He looks a quality player, lad Griffin. I believe he turned down a move to a Premiership team last season because he felt it was better to work on his game up here, and certainly a massive talent for the future.
Yeah, there were a few rumours that Derby were that team. He turned down.
Allegedly.
Punavachi, the Frenchman who's on loan from Carlisle. Bit of a forlorn chase for Coyne that time. John McQuillan clears. O'Boyle. Kane. Spread away to Boland. And a foul on Adamchuk by Preston. I feel a yellow card is not far away. It's not coming yet, but I feel it's not far away.
No, well, as I've said before, the derby games and typical start, there's a few tackles, but that one there possibly merited a yellow card there. Alan Preston lifting his leg, but maybe the referee's feeling a bit in a good mood despite the bad weather.
Dundee lost both their home games against St Johnstone last time these two teams were in the top flight. But they've started the brighter here. Madison. Not the best of crosses though. Nobody over on this side. Adamchuk trying to do something about that. Just got there as well. The persistence of the pole then. Watch our microphone, please.
Yeah, Adamchuk, legendary with his pace there, really quick, and it's something that Dundee will want to use to good effect.
Willie Miller was sold short by McInally. Coyne, nice dummy by Coyne. Grady couldn't return it to his strike partner though. Coyne again, and Boland is going to get the first yellow card of the game. I told you it was coming.
Yeah, Ian, yeah, that's it. Definitely a bit of local knowledge there from you, but that's 3 or 4 challenges that have been fired in on him. Adamchuk, he's an unlucky person at the moment, but yeah, there's no doubt there, yellow card merited.
A booking that went down well with the home fans, the former Dundee United man. It's Miller with the free kick. Punavachi has gone up. And it comes out to Madison. Oh, that was a thumping drive that came off Paul Kane. And I think he would have known about it as well. Lee Madison's effort.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Lee Madison is the free kick expert. He can certainly strike them, and there's no doubt about this one. I'm sure it's going on target. Here he's here, tremendous left foot. And Paul Kane done very well to
to trundle all the way over to the other side to take the corner. Hence the slight delay. It's been an entertaining start.
Yeah, it's been a great start. There's no doubt that Dundee do have a massive aerial threat with Rayside, Pumochi and Faulkner.
Madison's corner, down by Grady. No joy for Rayside. Grady. First time centre will go straight into the arms of Alan Main. John McQuillan to Kane. O'Boyle was under pressure from Punavachi. And Falconer on the chase, but it will be cleared away by Griffin. He's got the throw as well. Tipped by Brian Hamilton as a future captain of Northern Ireland. 7 caps to his name so far. Really is a tremendous talent. And St Johnstone are rather glad that he's decided to stay with them. Eventually we will get the throw taken by McQuillan. And the reception from the crowd might tell you that it's the man who used to play across the road, Gary Boland. Darren Dodds, signed from Hibernian in the summer. Punavachi's header. O'Boyle's throw. Well, he was looking for Alan Preston, who seemed to wait for it to come to him. But here's Griffin. He waited for the ball to come to him. McQuillan is on the overlap, and he's been found. And that's a decent cross, but pretty easy in the end for Douglas.
Yeah, Robert Douglas doesn't drop too many there. He's a commanding goalkeeper. He likes to come for cross balls, and there's no doubt when you've got a goalkeeper like that, it certainly helps your back three or back four's confidence.
McQuillan, who delivered that centre. Punavachi. And what can St Johnstone do here? They've been under the cosh a little bit in the opening quarter of an hour, and they might be again here. Damchuk looking for Grady, finding him. Seemed to get held up in the wind and the rain then, but Grady seemed to expect it to. Kane biting in with a challenge. Dundee survived though. And Madison's cross. Flicked on by Falconer. Goal kick. The early action areas in this game then tell the story a great deal. St Johnstone under a real lot of pressure from Dundee.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Dundee are playing some nice stuff. They're knocking it about, playing with confidence, and I think they realise that they've got to get going, and tonight's their night, so it's a good positive start. It'll be interesting to see how the game unfolds from here.
The typical crowd cry to try and put the goalkeeper off. I don't think it ever really works much, but worth a go.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they'll have a wee go at this man as well. Another ex-Dundee United player, one of 3 or 4 in the St Johnstone ranks, but he's a good quality goalkeeper, Alan Main. He's been involved in the Scotland setup for a while now, and I don't think anything like a few catcalls will put this man off.
Of course, if you swap clubs and go from Dundee to Dundee United or vice versa, you certainly don't have to move house, and you don't have to move street there when you're playing either.
No, that's true, Ian.
And they do have plans to redevelop Dens Park as well. Putting new stands up at either end initially. And as you can see, it's still chucking it down.
Just a good, typical Scottish summer's night, Ian.
Yeah, I was told it, you can tell when it's summer in Scotland because the rain's warmer. This will be a St Johnstone throw for Alan Preston. Here's Preston. Found by Grant. Boland. And it might be picked up by Scott, but he was unable to bring it under control. And Alan Main's come a long way out then. And McQuillan lost his footing on the slippery surface. Just about recovered. Kane's attempted ball forward was charged down by Jim McInally.
That's great covering from Alan Main there. His defender Darren Dawes was under pressure from that live wire, James Grady, and he was out his box in a flash to clear up the danger.
St Johnstone lost 1-0 at Motherwell on the opening day, then drew 0-0 with Kilmarnock. Dundee have lost by 2-0 twice so far this season to Aberdeen here on the opening day, when they really were outclassed, and then they were beaten 2-0 at Dunfermline. And the Scottish League Cup defeat at the hands of Alloa didn't help their early season confidence, but they've done all right here so far. St Johnstone finding the space now though, with Boland, and what space he has, he might have hit it a bit earlier. Adamchuk was able to block. Griffin did well to feed Preston. Here's Scott. Grant back to Scott. And Scott making headway here. And he finds Grant, but Punavachi slides in. An anxious moment, though, for Dundee then. And there haven't been too many anxious moments for them so far in this game.
No, St Johnstone have been a bit disappointing going forward. I'd say they're playing some nice football, but they're not really penetrating. I'd like to see it getting to Georgia Boyle's feet a bit more, so that young Philip Scott can run off him. But so far, it's Dundee in the ascendancy.
No goals to show for it, though, and that's been the story for both these teams so far this season in the Scottish Premier League.
Well, there's one man, James Grady, who I think is probably the best bet to get a goal tonight. Yeah, he's very lively, as you've seen so far, very quick, and he can sniff a chance.
Rayside won the header, but here's Boland. Here's McQuillan. Drilled across by John McQuillan, and it got a touch on the way. It'll be a corner. Plenty of power behind that one.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad strike. He's seen the space, he's attacked it well. And I don't know if this was actually a shot or a cross, but yeah, you see the reflection from Punwachi there. A dangerous chance here for St Johnstone.
It's Preston's corner, but it's not the best. You might get to it again, though. Paul Kane. Griffin, and he decides to do exactly what McQuillan did. Carbon copy.
Yeah, well, I've no doubt at all that this was definitely a shot here by young lad Griffin. Again, St Johnstone lad getting a lot of time to come forward there, and perhaps maybe another corner.
3 apiece as far as attempts at goal are concerned. Just the one on target for Dundee, who certainly have the better of the opening 20 minutes. Up towards Grady. He might have touched it with his hand then.
Yeah, it certainly looked like a handball, but once again, Grady getting in behind him. He's certainly looking very dangerous, and I think that could be Dundee's route to go.
Here's O'Boyle. It was missed by Smith, but Willie Falconer picks it up. To Coyne. And that cannons back to Alan Main. Paul Kane in the midfield for St Johnstone. And the free kick goes the way of Punavachi, who you might see, can't quite see there, but he actually hasn't got his name on the back of his shirt, because they're a bit short on shirts at Dundee at the moment. He's supposed to be wearing 33. Also, he's got a very long name as well to fit on there, but he's wearing number 3 today. Eventually, when they get around to it, he'll have his number 33 shirt.
Yeah, well, that's true, but to be fair, I don't think we'll fail to recognise this man. He's an absolute colossus there, and it's going to be a very, very interesting little tussle with him and Rory Grant.
Yeah, the big burly Frenchman, brought in from Carlisle to shore up Dundee's defence. McQuillan. O'Boyle. Every time he gets to the ball, Punavachi's right there with him. O'Boyle. Here's McQuillan. Mistake by Punavachi that time, he stumbled. Boland. Preston will not keep it in. Looked like he was going to, but it just skipped away from him.
It's the story of the St Johnstone game so far. Paul Kane spreading the ball about really well. He's been probably the top performer for St Johnstone so far, but they're really not making any use of the width in the wings.
Damchuk's throw, picking out Tommy Coyne. Really looks up for this one, as indeed do the entire Dundee team. Falconer, Madison away towards his left-hand side, but just too far in front of him. Hence the protest. Possession-wise, it's a pretty close call, just edged by St Johnstone.
Yeah, well, that's surprising, that, because I thought Dundee have been on the ball most of the time, but they've certainly been more positive with it, but perhaps St Johnstone are now beginning to edge into the game.
Yes, you sense they're getting their act together. Here's McQuillan's cross. Grant's header! Plucked out of the air, but there was a foul anyway by Roddy Grant.
Well, there he is. He's a big Auckland customer, Roddy. It's a man who I rate very, very highly. He's very underrated, and there doesn't seem too much wrong with that there. It's two big lads going up for a cross. I don't know if there's any tugging beforehand, but you see him get well, good header on target. Perhaps a shade unfortunate there.
And much to the dismay of the Dundee fans, Coyne has been penalised and Griffin has got the free kick. Short stab to Paul Kane. Dodds giving O'Boyle something to chase, but across came Smith, former Celtic man.
He's a real rock at the back for Dundee. He was probably the most consistent player last year, Ian. Very strong, doesn't have outstanding games, but everything's very, very good. Very rarely makes a mistake.
Well, that particular St Johnstone attack floundered. Roddy Grant, a cult hero with St Johnstone and their followers. Scored 26 goals in the 96-97 season when St Johnstone were promoted. Suspended for the big kick-off this season. Boland's header. Not met with a boo by the home fans for the first time. Here's Paul Kane. And Paul Kane! Oh, dipping effort, but a superb strike from Paul Kane.
Yeah, well, Kane, as I said earlier, he's been the best performer for St Johnstone so far. And once again, the Dundee players just keep backing off, and it's only a matter of time before it's going to count. It's a terrific effort, and that's only inches over the bar.
Thumping drive from Kane, so close. Dodds wins the charge with Coyne. Here's Barry Smith. McQuillan being allowed to roam forward yet again. O'Neill finding Boland. Back to O'Neill. Well, might have held to be looked at there because there was no one there for St Johnstone.
Yeah, another good passing movement. No, I think a further sign, Ian, that St Johnstone are getting to grips with this game, and after surviving Dundee's initial flurry, are now taking the game to their hosts.
No goals. Dundee actually had the joint best defensive record in the whole of Scotland last season, just 24 conceded. The joint best with the champions Celtic. And they, of course, were champions themselves in Division 1, Dundee. Finishing 5 points clear of Falkirk. McQuillan. Here's Kane. Aim towards Grant, but comfortable collect for Douglas, and a decent throw from Douglas. Adamchuk. Well, McQuillan will chase that. Madison might just get there. No, McQuillan first to it. A bit of a stray ball though.
To be fair, it wasn't a bad ball there, because if Madison had read it, it was in. A great wee run from James Grady, it pulled away from the centre half, so Dundee are trying hard to get back in this game.
Miller. He gets it back from Coyne, and he was caught by Boland, who will be in trouble. The cross was really awkward, in fact. It hung in the air from Adamchuk, and it'll be a corner, but Boland, who was yellow carded earlier, will be getting a few more warnings soon, I think.
Well, it's another thumping tackle, and Gary Boland will have to be careful, because he said he's already been booked, and that tackle in itself could easily have merited another yellow card.
A little bit of an escape there for Boland, and a bit of an escape too for St Johnstone. The corner cleared by a combination of Boland and also Griffin. George O'Boyle scored in the League Cup win over Stranraer. In fact, he probably should have had a hat-trick in that game.
He's a tremendous goal scorer for St Johnstone. O'Boyle, he's got an unbelievable strike ratio for them, and he's a lively player. Punavachi's
big kick. Griffin's header. And they all jumped, and here's John O'Neill. McQuillan. Away by Smith. Given away again, though. Straight to O'Boyle, and now Boland, for whom the boos have returned. Willie Miller will intercept that. Darius Adamchuk. Jim McAnally, the old trooper, to Miller. Grady to Adamchuk. This is neat from Dundee. What is the end result going to be for them? There's the answer. Two number 11s, Kane and McAnally.
Well, apart from the opening 10 minutes here, it's been a similar fate to both teams here. They're playing a lot of nice football up to the 18-yard box, but there's no penetration in. Really, given what we've seen so far, you can understand why they haven't hit the back of the net.
McQuillan trying another decent run. Oops, given away again. Preston. Phil Scott rising, but he will be penalised for a little nudge. Scott, I think he might have said something there to Mike McCurry, which means that Mike McCurry will now say something to him.
Well, it's a borderline decision whether it was a free kick there, but I'm sure Philip just had a lot more to tell the referee that it was possibly still raining.
Oh, that's what it was. Well, tomorrow night on Sky Sports in the FA Carling Premiership, it's Leeds against Blackburn. They entertained us last season. Sky Sports 1 from 7 tomorrow. And our Scottish match next Sunday comes from Fir Park, Motherwell against Dundee United. Brady. Away by Dodds. Met by Rayside. McAnally. Oh, and a chance here for Adamchuk! Magnificent block by Darren Dodds. What a block. And it's a goal kick as well at the end of all that.
Well, that's tremendous defending from the ex-Hibs player there. It's a lovely little ball from Willie Miller. Adamchuk's onto it, but this is tremendous. He stood up and may have caught it in a rather tender place there, but he's done his job.
There speaks a man who probably has caught it there a few times, I dare say.
On occasion.
Rayside for Dundee. Griffin heading it out. And the Dundee fans encouraged by their team's performance so far. But as you can see, nothing to show for it as far as the scoreline goes. Stefan Punavachi, born in Paris. Away by Dodds. Here's Lee Madison, though, once of Bristol Rovers and Northampton. Away by Boland. Another Dundee throw. Damchuk. McInally. Damchuk always showing signs of quality. Will struggle to get to the return though, because Danny Griffin was very quickly across.
Yeah, he can be a frustrating player at times, Darius, because he has got this pace. It's absolutely frightening, but sometimes he doesn't really use it, which is strange. But he's certainly shown signs the last 5-10 minutes that he's beginning to come alive.
Miller sizing up the cross, which is helped on to O'Boyle by Scott. Now O'Boyle renewing his tussle with Punovac. He just couldn't quite keep it in play.
That's certainly an almighty tussle over there. It's David and Goliath stuff, but I'd have to say, to be fair to the big man, he's come out on top so far. He's kept George O'Boyle quite quiet.
He's certainly having a battle with O'Boyle. And he's ahead, as John said. Dodds. Boland. And Grady might get in there. What a good old-fashioned charge that was. Free kick given Boland's way.
Well, that's incredible, really. I mean, little shortstop there, getting his elbow in, and I mean, that's just your old-fashioned shoulder to shoulder. To me, there's nothing much wrong with that. Gary Boland's a big lad, and I'm surprised the referee's given a free kick there.
He really bumped into Boland there, but it is St Johnstone's free kick. And ball not given against McQuillan. The referee presumably thinking it was accidental. O'Boyle, Grant is in the middle, and it will get to him, but his header ends up just over. Chances are coming now, though.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. They may have not had too much of the ball in attacking area, but to be fair to St Johnstone, they've probably had the two best attempts. It's a good effort for Roddy Grant there, and the one from Paul Kane earlier on, which went just over the bar, so it's getting there. We just need that all-important breakthrough.
Couple of attempts at goal for Roddy Grant. And this one's going to land at the feet of Miller. Coyne was just had a little look round then to see what was happening, and cost him really, enabling Griffin to recover. O'Boyle. Nice work by George O'Boyle. Here's McQuillan again. How many times have we seen him coming forward from that position? John O'Neill. Scott's cross, and O'Neill. It's high and not very handsome from O'Neill.
Well, once again, Dundee are backing off on this 18-yard line, and it's going to cost them dear in the end. John O'Neill, normally a winger here, it's a great first touch, and he gets the ball under control there, but you know, it's just about 3 or 4 feet too high. But again, Dundee are backing off and allowing St Johnstone some room to come at them.
Made his 200th league appearance last week against Kilmarnock. O'Boyle. Here's Kane, helped out by O'Boyle. But a chance for Dundee again. Damchuk. It's Miller in support. Damchuk. We've got 4 men in the box. McInally with the swirling centre, which is deflected reasonably comfortably in the end by Alan Main. And Mighty have set up a St Johnstone attack with O'Neill. Preston well forward, and Brayside has to send it out of touch. Had no choice, he says.
Well, that was a strange sight there for even my eyes. Jim McInally in the opposition half putting it across. I'm sure the old stadium there just about got a nosebleed putting that cross in.
Griffin. Brayside first to react. Madison fed by McInally. Coyne back to Madison. Just as it started to look promising for Dundee, it breaks down. St Johnstone, though, John O'Neill unable to do much with it. Another former Dundee United man.
Yeah, I think Paul Sturrock's done very well getting a few of the boys from Dundee United. Good players. He's done wonders in the transfer market. He spent very little. And the big man challenging there, Darren Dodds, £40,000 buy for Hibs as well. And Paul Sturrock, very astute in the transfer market.
Yes, he's done a good job at St Johnstone. Darren Dodds involved in this challenge and getting the free kick.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that, Tommy. He's an old fox at these games. It's a wee tug there trying to get away from it on the blind side of the referee, but not on that occasion.
Kane. Williams slipped again. Finally lost it. Dodds. That will be collected by Douglas though. Miller. Adamchuk. Back to Miller. Not quite sure what the idea was then. But one thing is sure, it didn't work.
Well, that's very like Willie Miller. He's a quality user of the ball. Normally knocks any striker's feet, and I think that's what he was looking for there. He was asking Tommy Coyne to make the run, but in the end he just knocked it right out of play.
Punavachi made that his. Dodds made that his Grant. Boyle with asked to do too much then really, and Barry Smith covered. Dundee have only won one of the last 7 meetings between the teams. That was 2 years ago, but it was St Johnstone who went on to win promotion that season. In fact, it was their only home league defeat. Dodds and Coyne taking up one of the many tussles in this game. Any personal duels. Here's O'Boyle. McQuillan advancing. Punavachi's sliding challenge. Goal kick.
Well, it certainly looked like a free kick from here, Ian. That's, I'm quite surprised the referee didn't give that. Yeah, well, I've seen them given for less there, and it would have been a very interesting position. I've been very impressed with this big lad so far. He's big and he's solid, and he's got his foot in there, and he's stopped St Johnstone coming forward, and he's kept tabs on the danger man O'Boyle.
Well, he always seemed to do a decent job at Carlisle as well, Punavachi. If he carries on like this, they'll get the name on the back of his shirt soon, that's for sure. Finale to Miller. Grady, and here's Adamchuk, he's onside! Oh, what a miss from Darius Adamchuk. And the pole was poles apart from scoring then. He really should have done.
Well, you'd have bet your mortgage on this one. Again, a magnificent little touch here. He's onside, you can see he's banging line. And really, I thought he could have just rolled around the goalkeeper. You'll see it again. A lovely little move. Adamchuk gets in. Main goes down early. If bats could have gone round him, but what a miss.
You won't want to watch a rerun of this, really, will he? Darius Adamchuk.
No, I don't think he will. But promising again, it's a good move from Dundee. They've cut them open. A brilliant link up between Grady and Coyne. They've tried it 2 or 3 times. This time they got Adamchuk through, and really a horrendous miss.
Here's Roddy Grant. And Scott! Oh, not a bad effort on the turn. Plucked out of the air by Douglas. The big kick forward, dealt with by the biggest man in that position on the field, Darren Dodd. Here's McQuillan. Paul Kane. Boland. Preston hugging the touchline for Boland, but he'll go inside for the time being. And Phil Scott sends it out for a Dundee throw.
Well, Philip Scott there, a good effort once again on target. He's trying hard. He had, probably by his own standards, a poor season last year, Philip, but he's back, full fitness this year, and St Johnstone will be expecting big things from him.
Preston's header. McInally. Here's Kane. And they'll spread it to McQuillan. John O'Neill. He's got his cross in, and Phil Scott on the volley. It's up and it's over.
Well, once again, that's what Philip Scott's good at. He goes in from that midfield position all the time. This time he didn't get on target, but I'll tell you what, the space that the St Johnstone players are getting down the flanks here is incredible, and it can only be a matter of time before they finally make Dundee pay.
Jockey Scott, he might not look it, but I'm sure he'll be encouraged by the way his team have played in the first half.
Yeah, it's been a pretty even first half, really. Dundee started off very well, and St Johnstone fought back into it, and really all we're really lacking at the moment is the most important ingredient, and that's goals.
Boland. Rayside's header. Preston leaving the throw for Gary Boland. He'll take it eventually. Foul by Grant on Rayside, and Grant's going to get a little ticking off here from Mike McCurry.
Well, Big Roddy again, showing his physique, getting what I don't think there was an elbow there. I know Mr McCurry's saying that, but it didn't look like an elbow, and I've got a soft spot for Big Roddy, and I can assure you it's not the fact, it's the fact that he's a dyed-in-the-wool Jambo fan as well.
Griffin's header. Miller. And Coyne and Grady, that the understanding wasn't quite that time, or Falconer, rather it was, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, well, the two of them put it Motherwell together last season, and once again Tommy Coyne tried to get something on the end of it, but it's really just not happening in front of goal for any two teams at the moment, and really the game desperately needs a goal to kick-start it.
Grady, he was challenged by Griffin, and Danny Griffin has run away, but he's going to be summoned back by the referee, and this is why.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt whatsoever. They've had the new videos out, and this is what they're trying to clamp down on. It's the lunging in from behind, and the young lad Griffin there certainly got what he deserved on that occasion, which was a yellow card.
Joining Gary Boland in Mike McCurry's notebook, that notebook in fact. Two minutes of added on time in the first half, according to the fourth official. Miller, it came at him really awkwardly, but it just about kept it under control, and then wasted it completely, straight at Griffin. Here's Kane. Kane looking to put O'Boyle away. Barry Smith saw it coming. To the roof of the stand.
Yeah, not a bad ball for Paul Kane there. I think he's been St Johnstone's outstanding performer in the first half. He's been trying to make things tick. He's been very comfortable on the ball, and he's been spread it well. Just they need that penetration at the end of the half.
Here's Kane. And here's O'Boyle. Gary Boland. Preston. Got past Miller. And rather neatly finds Scott. Boland. And O'Boyle pulling away with a marvellous chance. Couldn't quite connect properly though, George O'Boyle.
Well, another quality ball in, and I've got to say that's St Johnstone's best attack of the game without a doubt. George O'Boyle peeled off brilliantly there. You'll see him just pulling away there. It's a great run, and really he's got to hit the target bit here, and I'm sure he'll be very, very disappointed with himself.
You'll know that was a good opportunity on the stroke of half-time for St Johnstone. Very much on the stroke of half-time, in fact. That brings the 45 minutes to an end. We haven't had a goal, but we certainly have had chances, and the man guilty of a glaring miss was Dariusz Adamczuk, the Polish international. A lovely build-up. Adamczuk somehow, though, poked it wide, hence that reaction. He knew that he should have scored, but he didn't. And at the break, in the rain at Dens Park, it's Dundee 0, St Johnstone 0.
But we're at Dens Park, Dundee tonight for Dundee against St Johnstone. No goals, but the first 45 minutes has been entertaining enough. As you can see, 2 bookings, Bowen and Griffin for St Johnstone, both deservedly so. The bulk of the play, well, in the middle of the field. Not surprising, really. These two sides still to score in the league this season. And Charlie, well, what, they've gone 225 minutes without a league goal scored.
Well, we should have known before kick-off this would be the state of affairs at half-time and maybe even full-time. Although they've had opportunities, both teams, there's no doubt about that. I think they've had good passing movements, but in areas that don't matter. They ain't going to hurt anybody. They've had chances, as I touched on, but very scrappy play at times. And I'm surprised that players are giving the ball away as easy as what they are.
Well, John Robertson, co-commentator tonight, rightly pointed up the fact that Paul Kane of St Johnstone might be the man to break the deadlock. He tried from distance.
Well, he's kept it simple, but this is a good shot. He's waiting and people moving. Philip Scott makes a decoy run, and it's always worth the strike. The only thing I would say to Paul is that you must keep it low tonight. It's a wet surface. You might get a break off the goalkeeper.
Adamczuk's a threat. He's always a threat, and he was nullified tonight by Darren
He's full of
Dodds.
endeavour. He'll always get forward, but he doesn't really have true composure. He's not going to find you a finish that is going to be top drawer. But he's always moving, and suddenly they get a little bit of luck. But the challenge from Dodds is excellent, because it's last ditch. He's the only man that can save. He can save the issue here for St Johnstone. It's a clean enough strike, and he saves the day for St Johnstone. It's quality defending there.
For Sturrock's men, Charlie, if anyone might do it, and we're looking for a goal, folks, no doubt about it, it might be Roddy Grant. Now, Robbo has been raving about him in the first half. He can pinch a goal here and there, can't he?
Oh, what he's got is that he knows where to pull off to attack the ball with the head. Him and O'Boyle are very clever at this. What I'm disappointed in Big Roddy here is that he doesn't get it down in the target again. It's a wet night, you can pick up scraps tonight, and nobody's doing that. Everybody's maybe trying to be a little bit too precise.
But there was absolutely no defending Dariusz Adamczuk here. How did he miss this? Well, even on the slippy surface.
Well, that's part of it. But if you're not used to getting into these situations, then strike it with power and make the keeper at least have a save. I actually thought he was offside, but it came back to an onside position. But he gets lucky. But you must make this count. If Dundee don't make them count, they'll suffer and they'll be at the bottom in 6 weeks' time.
Right at the death, George O'Boyle in on goal. And he's prolific, but on this occasion,
yeah, but it's a good move, good vision, great weighted cross. See the angle pulled off. What he tries to do for me is that he tries to get too much power on it. He should be gliding it across. There's someone else coming in, they might get the rebound, they might get a touch.
Who's going to break the deadlock tonight?
I'm still going to persist with Dundee. I just think that if they maybe look to bring Eddie Anand on, prolific goal scorer he was in the second division, I think he could turn it for them.
Well, there we are. Wind and rain up at Dens Park tonight, but that doesn't dampen any spirits, especially of these youngsters. It's Dundee 0, St Johnstone 0. Join us for all the action from the second half from Dens Park. At Dens Park, Dundee tonight is goalless at half-time, but Charlie Nicholas, that really isn't for the lack of trying, is it?
No, we can't have a go at the players. They're full of endeavour, they're full of work rate and passion, but there's no real quality being shown yet. Hopefully the second half can produce that.
Do you feel, Charlie, if we get one goal, we might get a few?
I think so. I think if you always look for the home team to try and get the established lead, and then that brings opposition out. St Johnstone, for me, have passed the ball better than Dundee. They've been more direct, Dundee, but there's got to be a period. You don't need to be that precise. Just try and get it in good areas, and I think we will get goals. And
there's the Saints fans who have made the trip down the road from Perth tonight, and the uncovered end, of course, that can't be too pleasant at Dens Park tonight. Well, they deserve a goal, don't they?
Well, that's it. If you come and you weather the conditions like they have to, you know, and pay good money. Like Motherwell yesterday, they got in very cheaply, which was nice to see, 10,000 there. So it's nice to see that they've all turned up.
And seasoned campaigners, Charlie, on show tonight. Tommy Coyne for Dundee, Paul Kane for St Johnstone. We look to them to try and break the deadlock.
Well, I think they've tried, but I think there's other players that are hesitant about going and taking that last step, the last gamble that can get you into goal-scoring positions. When they start doing that, because more space will happen in the second half, when they start doing that, I think we'll get mistakes, which will create goals.
Let's hope so. Let's rejoin John Robertson and Ian Crocker.
Thank you very much, Jim. The two teams back out. And as we said earlier, neither of them have yet to score in the Scottish Premier League this season. Fingers crossed, it's about to change in this second half, John.
Well, hopefully. I mean, we've seen some reasonably good link-up play so far, but all that's been lacking is the ingredient we said before the game that none of these two teams have been able to provide so far, and that's goals. But here's fingers and everything else crossed for the second half.
And it's one of those days in Scotland when it simply is never going to stop raining, I think we can safely say. Chucky Scott, the Dundee manager. Historic already in his season. a couple of seasons with Carlisle United. On loan from there at the moment with a view to a permanent deal.
Well, he certainly hasn't left Georgia Boyle's sight all night there, and perhaps that's the reason we've been overcritical on the forwards. The defenders have done well, but we're hoping that there's a few goals.
Here's Boland on a surging run, and Kane. Goal kick. Paul Kane with another long-range effort, tried one in the first half, and he tries one at the start of the second half.
Well, once again, the Dundee players are backing off. I don't know if they've been told by the management, but they're camped along the 18-yard line here. Alan Preston rolls out to Paul Kane. It's a good shooting opportunity, but a bit like the first half, he's hit it over the bar, and perhaps he should be taking Charlie Nicholas' advice and getting the ball skidding in and off the turf at the goalkeeper.
Helped on by Madison and by Coyne to Grady. Madison. McInally. Robbie Rayside. Miller to Adamchuk. Back to Miller and back to Adamchuk. McInally's pass just going to move away from Lee Madison, I think, on the skinny surface.
Not a bad passing movement though, Ian. Dundee have come out again trying to be positive. They're trying to take the game to St Johnstone.
Actually never very far from George O'Boyle.
Yeah, I'm sure the wee man will have a few bumps and bruises tonight after this encounter.
Here's Paul Kane. Boland. Couldn't quite pick out Preston. And here's Miller. This could be promising for Dundee. Willie Faulkner now. And it went behind the strikers, Coyne and Grady, but Faulkner might get another chance. Coyne muscled out of it. Here's McQuillan. Dodds. Aim towards Grant. Away by Madison, and here's McQuillan, and he was nudged, I think, by Coyne. Referee has played the advantage. And here's Preston. Boland in support. He's going to tease and torment Miller, but then he's allowed it to bobble behind for a goal kick.
Well, there's another promising chance here for St Johnstone to go forward, and it's certainly a pity hate of mine when the guys getting the wide areas and don't put the ball in for the strikers. There's nothing more frustrating, and I'm sure George O'Boyle and Ronnie Grant will be giving a little bit of stick about that.
Little shake of the head from Paul Sturrock. Now Miller might get to this. No, Preston does. And does again. Could be a break on now for the Saints. O'Neill trying to charge through. Douglas came out.
Not a bad ball there from Paul Kane yet again. He's the man that's trying to make things happen for St Johnstone. And I feel if they're going to score, that he'll be involved in it.
Dundee last season, in winning the First Division title, won only 8 of their 18 home matches, would you believe? And that's a record that you wouldn't associate with champions normally.
No, when I came here, nobody really outside Dundee knew why they had such a great away record and a poor home record, but I felt at times that the fans can be a wee bit overcritical here in Dundee. They got on the team's back. Tonight they seem to be up for it, and they're trying to encourage, but certainly their away record last year was phenomenal.
Yes, they can be a little impatient here, he says quietly, and that's from the safety of the gantry. Boland. That will cause Dundee no problems whatsoever, though. They've already lost twice at home this season to Aberdeen in the Scottish Premier League and to Alloa in the Scottish League Cup. And I think Jockey Scott would agree that that was a really dreadful performance on that day as well.
Well, don't Jockey from my time here, I don't think he'll have been too happy with that at all. But what he'll do is he'll just make his players work hard, and he'll get them organised and get them working for each other. And I'm sure, you know, the League Cup would have been a nice run for him, but he's really determined to make sure that Dundee stay up, because already the cynics are claiming that his team are set for relegation.
Yes, he's a bit amazed that there's a talk of a crisis already after a handful of games.
Well, there's always that. I mean, it doesn't matter what team you're with. If you don't go off to a winning start, people start to panic early. But to be fair, the Marr brothers have showed they can be ruthless in business, because John McCormack was given the sack and his team were 5-6 points clear at the top of the league last season.
Yes, they don't mess around, do they? It's a throw in to Dundee. Off Griffin. And it takes a little while for the ball boy to get there. He's got there in the end. And here's Miller. Grady. Madison. Who seems to often flatter to deceive. Here's Coyne. Miller. Poor pass.
I'm very surprised at that, because Willie Miller, in all the times that I've put against him, is a very, very good passer of the ball. It's one of his outstanding talents that he has. He's a tough tackler and a good defender, and his distribution normally is very, very good.
Was controlled by Coyne that time. Preston. And poor distribution from him that time. Preston giving Roddy Grant too much to do. Far too much, in fact.
Well, the game's kind of went a little lull at the moment, where, dare I say it, desperately needing that opening goal, or even a shot on target to get everybody warmed up.
Well, Dodson will be first to this. Falconer's got a little bit of a knock, but I think he'll be okay. In fact, he's getting to his feet now as Dundee try and create something. In fact, Falconer is going to need treatment. The referee spotted then that he had taken a pretty nasty knock.
Yeah, the referee took his time there. It was a head knock right away, and you could see that Willie was looking a bit groggy. But these days you can't be too careful, so he's got the physio on, and Big Willie's a tough old cat there. I'm sure he'll be okay.
Well, this is how he got the knock.
Yeah, it's just a clash of heads there. It's accidental. Two good competitors there, McQuillan and Faulkner, who's throughout his career with Celtic and Motherwell has scored a lot of good goals coming in late into the penalty area. He's very, very good in the air. Ex-striker at Aberdeen as well, so he certainly knows the route to go, and hopefully in the next few minutes he can find it.
I think he's okay. Well, tomorrow night on Sky Sports 1 from 7 o'clock, it's action from the top flight in England. It's Leeds United against Blackburn Rovers, who certainly entertained us last season. I remember a 7-goal thriller at Ewood Park. And then next Sunday, our Scottish Premier League match comes from Fir Park. It's Motherwell against Dundee United. Sky Sports 3 next Sunday from 6 o'clock. Now Falconer, of course, he's rather stupidly got to go off so that he can come back on, isn't he? There's balmy rules.
That's a crazy rule, that, as well, but you know, they tend to find that Scottish officials can be a wee bit heavy on some things like that, but if it's blood, then it's got to be washed away.
Yeah, they'll still patch him up a little bit as well as he goes to the touchline. Here's Preston, meantime. Taken off his toes by McInally. Adamchuk. Miller. McInally. And Coyne is on the far post. It won't reach him, and Alan Main gets hold of that slippery ball eventually. The kick out hit the referee.
Well, I don't know if maybe Alan Main took umbrage to something that was said at half-time there.
It was a good shot.
It was, that's probably the only thing that's been on target so far.
Coyne now. Here's Scott. Boland. Scott. McQuillan, who had plenty of runs down this side in the first half, not quite so many in the second. John O'Neill. Boyle goes in, and Scott! And a goal for St Johnstone, and it's Philip Scott, their first in the Scottish Premier League this season.
Well, it's just what we're saying, Ian. This man is the boy to come in late. You see him hovering at the edge of the box there. It's played in. It's a great wee touch for George O'Boyle to get in there, and that's a quality finish. The half-turn, Robert Douglas, absolutely no chance. It's a great wee run. O'Neill, for the first time, being positive in the match. There's a wee break they're looking for, but what a finish that is. It's been a long time coming, but we've got one.
It's finally come from Philip Scott, and St Johnstone have the lead. His first of the season, St Johnston's first in league football. Willie Falconer has come back on, but the change is being made by Dundee. Falconer's back on after his injury, but Tommy Coyne's going off, and he's going to be replaced by the Frenchman Eric Garsan.
Well, that's a strange one, that there. Garsan's a midfield player. I can only assume they're going to push Willie Faulkner up front, and Garsan's going to come into the midfield and play there. As Charlie said at half-time, the man I would like to have seen come on was Eddie Anand. He's got a tremendous goal-scoring record with Clyde, with Dundee over the last 2 seasons, but we'll see what transpires here.
So, game over for Tommy Coyne. Back in business though, and duly patched up is Willie Falconer after that knock on the head. So Johnstone in the lead at last in this game. A goal. What will Dundee's response be to it? Here's Garsan, one of the 4 summer signings Dundee made from Motherwell. There's the Frenchman again. McAnally. Madison. Garsan. Grady. And Garsan. And a free kick. Garsan was left floored, and this could be promising for Dundee.
Well, it's been a positive reply from Dundee, to be fair. Well, having a look at that picture there, there didn't seem to be too much in it. Good battle from Grady. I don't know if there is contact here. It doesn't appear to be, so perhaps Dundee are shade fortunate to be given it.
Well, Garsan, who won the free kick, his favourite to have a go at this.
Well, he scored a tremendous one last year against Hibernian from a similar position, so he has been known.
Well, this one goes straight against the wall. Desperate cries of handball, but only from the Dundee fans. Miller trying to send it back in. And Adamchuk was caught by Boland, and that'll be another free kick.
An ambitious effort there from Willie Miller, who I'm sure will not get mistake for saying he's not the most prolific of goal scorers, but nice to see him have a try there. No doubt about a foul there.
By Boland, who was booked earlier. So another free kick for Dundee, this time on the other side. Well, I'm sure they're going to take it eventually. Indeed they do. Madison, and flying across the air was Alan Main to frustrate Lee Madison.
And frustrate me certainly did. We've said that Madison is a free kick expert, and that's a tremendous effort. But that's great technique from Alan Main there. He works with Roy Baines, who does the goalkeeping coaching at Livingston as well, and he rates him very, very highly and thinks he could make the Scotland breakthrough this year.
Brady's throw. Alan Main preserving St Johnstone's lead then. Here's Madison, who took that free kick. Garsan. Back to Madison. Grady, that's a nice turn, but not an equally nice cross. Back in by Miller. Falconer. Here's Adamchuk. Just lost touch of the ball and allow Boland to clear. And O'Boyle now. There's a break on for St Johnstone. That might be a free kick, but the referee will play the advantage, and he slips it through to Scott, and Grant is in the middle. Another excellent turn, back to O'Boyle. Ping-pong time, and St Johnstone unable to make it pay from that attack, but they do have a corner.
Well, it's a tremendous break, George O'Boyle done well. There's that man, Philip Scott. We said at the top of the programme he likes to get in there, but Dundee get it away. But much more promising stuff now, and that goal certainly has livened up the match.
St Johnstone then with their second corner of the game. Comfortable header clear though for Falconer. Can Grady get to it? No. Boland does. Back to Preston. And Preston superbly past McAnally. Here's Phil Scott. O'Boyle. He's got past Punamati. Away by Miller. Straight back in by Kane. St Johnstone looking really threatening. And they might threaten again here. O'Boyle will be first to it. Paul Kane. O'Boyle again. You would expect that to be the keepers.
Yeah, Dundee are under the cosh now, there's no doubt about it. St Johnstone have upped it a gear, they've got the confidence from the goal, and really could have been 2 up by now if the last chance had been cut across goals by Philip Scott. But I have to say the whole pace of the game's gone up at least a yard, and things are looking more promising in front of the goal for both teams now.
In the second half action areas, and as you can see, St Johnstone with the better of it, which wasn't the case in the first half. Falconer taken down by Gary Boland, and O'Boyle's going to chase this, but it was Smith's header. Grant. Adamchuk. St Johnstone have got their first league goal of the season. Can Dundee get theirs? Adamchuk still goes. Down he goes, but the free kick has gone the other way to St Johnstone as Griffin went with him.
Well, I can't wait to have a look at this, because my initial reaction was it was a penalty. I mean, Adamchuk's a good runner, Neil's covered them well. A bit of a tussle. Well, I'll tell you what, to me that looks like a penalty kick.
But the free kick was given the other way. St Johnstone heading for their first league win after coming so close to snatching UEFA Cup place last season, pipped by Kilmarnock. Here's Falconer though. Dodds and Falconer together, goal kick.
That was good covering for big Darren Dodds there. Wally Faulkner will chase him all day, but the ex-Hibs defender there showing a bit of his experience. He had a tough season last year with Hibs going down, but done everything right there and made sure the ball ran out of play.
Looking pretty solid defensively, St Johnstone, aren't they?
Yes, they are. I mean, both teams have been going forward, but they've been lacking that final pass in the final third all the time. But although St Johnstone have failed to score, well, first goal they've scored this season, they have managed to keep a clean sheet in the other game, so Paul Sturrock likes to keep them tight at the back.
Away by McQuillan. Kane. Scott, scorer of the solitary goal in this game. And here goes McQuillan again. Kane. McQuillan plodded into by Garsan. And Jim McAnally and Paul Kane, both uncompromising footballers, and it's going to be a yellow card for Kane.
Well, it's another thunderous challenge here. I think Paul Kane's a bit unfortunate. He got a bit of the ball there as well. There's the first tussle, he's come in here. Jim McAnally gets there. Yeah, it's a wee bit late, but there's no contact, but the referee's obviously seen the booked him for intent.
Yellow card for Kane, the third St Johnstone player in the book. Grant. Here's Rayside. And here's Rayside again. Miller's away on the right, and he's going to find it. And Grady's fancy flick, doesn't quite come off.
Well, I'm very surprised at James Grady here. This is one that you'd normally expect him to put it away. The wee man's deadly in those positions. It's a good move, a super ball in from Willie Miller here. And I don't understand why he just doesn't take a touch to kill it with his left foot and smack it home with his right. It's another great chance for Dundee, and they just can't afford to keep missing them.
St Johnstone ahead now at attempts on goal, and certainly ahead, or behind rather, with a goal with attempts on target, but certainly ahead on goals.
Well, it's a pity the booking for Paul Kane. I think he's had a super game so far for St Johnstone, and I'm just wondering with his sending off in the first game of the season if that may take him over the disciplinary points again.
Well, here is Grady. Talented player, James Grady. Perhaps trying to be a little bit too clever just then, but here's Miller with a free kick. Garsan's header. Dug out by Roddy Grant, back defending. Funabachi. Winning the applause of the Dens Park faithful. And Barry Smith. And he's brought down, and that'll be another free kick. And a chance for them to have a go from distance. It was Scott's challenge.
A tremendous run there for Barry. He gets through. I don't think there's any doubt it's a free kick. And he has the capability of doing that. He normally sits in the middle of the back three and just covers everybody, but he does like to get forward when he gets the chance.
It's Garsan this time, but it's over from Eric Garsan.
Well, it's a poor effort, really. It's a promising position for Dundee there. But Charlie Nicholas spoke about at half-time. You'd be looking for players to drive these in low and hard and get them skinned off the surface. And I think we can hear from below us now. There's certainly signs of discontent amongst the Dundee fans.
Jim McInally and co could be heading to their third home defeat of the season. Madison. Who's it going to drop for? Garsan is the answer to that. Here he goes. Oh, and not quite on the same wavelength as Grady.
Well, it's really the story of the Dundee match so far. They've played some positive, cracking stuff up to the 18-yard line. The final pass or the final shot it sees it's a team lacking in confidence and a team that is not scoring goals.
So vital to them as well to stay in Scotland's top flight, Dundee.
Well, they need to get a good start because we've mentioned Celtic and Hearts coming up for them. And when you look at the players they've got, Coyne, Grady, they can't score goals. And I think the only man that's really going to save them now is sitting on the bench, and that's Eddie Anand.
Grant was offside. No sign of Anand yet. And Douglas has got to club that one into touch. And you can hear the reaction from the home fans. As we were talking about earlier, they don't like it here, do they? Much?
No, they're very hard to please, I would say, to not put too fine a point in it. But to be fair to them, they've paid good money to come out here. The conditions are atrocious, and their team aren't really giving them much to cheer about at the moment.
Here's Scott. Boland. Kane, back to Scott. John O'Neill just stepped in ahead of Madison. Here's McQuillan. He's got Garsan for company. And he's got the throw off the Frenchman.
Well, there's Giorgio Boyle using his experience there, just calming the game down. He knows how vital this win can be for St Johnstone. He's just slowing it down every little second here and there just to make sure that Dundee can't get the ball at the other end of the park.
And warming up. I wonder if we'll see him soon. Here's John O'Neill. Corner off Madison. Some more defending for Dundee to do. John O'Neill winning the corner off Madison. George O'Boyle amongst those waiting.
Yep, St Johnstone work on these set pieces afternoon after afternoon. They're normally very good deliveries, and having said that, it's right into the goalkeeper's hands.
He just put the kiss of death on that one. Commentator's law, that was.
Yeah, well, new to the game here, I'll just keep my mouth shut now.
Boland will take the St Johnstone throw. Rayside won it in the air. Free kick going in favour of St Johnstone though. Smith penalised.
St Johnstone seem to have got on top of the game at the moment, and I really think it may be time for Jockey Scott to take off one of his more defensive midfield players, McInally or Madison, and perhaps don't Eddie Annan.
I think the time might not be far away. Here's Kane. He's just going to roll out. St Johnstone's throw. McQuillan, who's facing his former club today. O'Neill. It's opened up for him. And he'll go for it himself, but a tame effort, to say the least.
Yeah, it was a good initial run for John there, but there was no movement for him. I think he was really trying to slip somebody in instead of just having the confidence to go on his own, and in the end it was a poor effort.
Here's Miller. Adamchuk. Grady. McInally tried one. Came off Dodson away. Garsan, found by his fellow Frenchman Punavachi. Dundee aren't really getting anywhere at the moment. Smith trying to change that. That'll be pretty easy though for the visiting defence.
Well, a wee bit indecision there between Alan Main and Danny Griffin, but they've got it away. But really Dundee just seems short of ideas at the moment. I feel sure it's a confidence level. They've not scored goals so far, and due to the fact that we've now gone 76, 77 minutes and they've not scored again, they just don't seem to be doing anything at all.
Rayside. They're just not going anywhere, are they, at the moment?
No, it's pure stuff, to be perfectly truthful. And for once I can fully appreciate where the Dundee fans are coming from. They're passing it about nice, but they're not hurting, they're not penetrating. And I feel it's just a lack of penetration.
They're now making the change that you predicted. Lee Madison going off. And Eddie Anand, I think, will be coming on for Dundee.
Well, it's nice to see I've got something right today, but no, Eddie's a prolific goal scorer for Dundee. He scored a lot of goals for Clyde before Dundee eventually bought him, and he is a very, very good finisher given a chance. But that's $1 million question. What is, can Dundee provide him with a chance?
Well, he weighed in with 14 goals last season. They couldn't half do with one now from him. But it's St Johnstone who have the free kick. O'Boyle. Fending off Adamchuk, and the free kick has gone St Johnstone's way, although it appeared to be Adamchuk who was struck then by O'Boyle. And
well,
O'Boyle...
This could be interesting, because if the referee decrees it was an arm...
He's off. George O'Boyle raised an arm, no doubt about it, to Darius Adamchuk, and it's a red card for the St Johnstone number 10. And this Tayside derby turns volatile. Adamchuk being called to the referee now. O'Boyle, well, there's no point protesting, George. You've got to go. You can see what his reaction is.
Well, he's got a grievance here, because you can see Adamchuk's holding on. It's more of a slap than an elbow. Adamchuk's made a lot of it, but you know the rules now. If you raise your hand, whether it's a slap or a push into your opponent's face, then inevitably you're going to get the red card.
It's a yellow for Adamchuk after that incident. It's a red for George O'Boyle, and I don't think he can complain.
No, I don't think he can. I mean, it's annoying. It's probably the most annoying thing as a player. You get your jersey tugged here, but you'll see his arm going back. There it is there. It's a shove, more of a forearm. And I've got to agree with Mr McCurry, that's a red card.
Powerful header by Griffin. Held back to Douglas. So St Johnstone are a goal ahead, but a man down.
Well, you wonder if that's the break that Dundee are needing. Can they push the extra man forward now and get the goal?
Confirmation of the yellow card for Adamchuk, the Pole. Mike McCurry then has been kept busy today. Red card for George O'Boyle. And he's dished out 4 yellows as well.
I think the referee's handled the game quite well, to be fair. He's kept it flowing as much as he can, and there's not been too many bad tackles going, but I've got to be fair, I think the red card was merited.
Garsan. It'll be Dundee's throw. They've got 10 minutes to find from somewhere their first league goal of the season. Boland clears. Grant, who's on his own now, up front, to O'Boyle's departure. Dodds won the header. Robbie Ray side. It's going to go straight to Boland though. Adamchuk. Oh, Boland did well to keep hold of that one. So Paul Sturrock no longer on his seat now with the game approaching its climax. Can his 10 men hang on to their slender lead? And another change being made by St Johnstone. Keeper Halloran is coming on for the goal scorer, Philip Scott.
Well, I think Paul Sturrock there, Halloran's a bit more of a defender. I think he's had to sacrifice the forward runs of Philip Scott here to hang on to this result. He's left Rory Grant up front his own. He's dropped O'Halloran in there on the ball now, and I think St Johnstone now will just sharp shot, take the points.
It was Garsan's initial mistake that has given St Johnstone this opportunity. McQuillan will get the throw in. McQuillan with the throw. Gets it back from Grant, and still he goes, and it's going to be a free kick to St Johnstone. Willie Miller sent him tumbling.
It's another great run from McQuillan. He's impressed me in this game. He's gone up, down, he's gone behind him again, and it's definitely a free kick, and a very, very promising situation for St Johnstone here.
John O'Neill to take it, and it's short to Preston, charged down by Garza. I bet they always work on the training field, don't they?
Well, I wasn't going to even say anything after the last attempt there, so we'll give them the benefit of the doubt that it was worked out there.
Rayside slides in with Preston. Dundee now going for the direct route to goal, and Falconer's nod on has found Grady. It's over the head of Anand. St Johnstone can breathe easy.
Oh, it's a terrific ball in there from James Grady, and it's just a pity, the 3 strikers, one of them's got burst a gut to get into the middle there for that. Grady was out wide, so you're looking for Eddie Anand or Willie Faulkner to get there. None of them could get on the end of it.
Rayside. Adamchuk. That's straight into the arms of the keeper though. Dreadfully disappointing again.
That's been the story of Dundee tonight, I'm afraid. They've created 2 half-decent chances, one in the first half for Adamchuk, and then one for Grady in the second half, and that's only 2 times they've really had a good move wide. The rest of the time it's been poor distribution. As I said before and say it again, it's a lack of self-belief and a lack of confidence.
Rayside. Garsan. It's over the top for Faulkner, but Alan Main quickly out.
to be fair to St Johnstone, they've been very, very solid tonight.
Well, let's have a look at this major moment of controversy, sending off of George O'Boyle.
Well, there's definitely, you can see George has thrown an arm there. There was a bit of intent. Paul Sturrock may view it as a soft sending off, but he's raised his arms in the opponent's face, and that's a red card.
The shirt off from George O'Boyle.
Well, he'd better watch, because in this weather, he'll certainly not be getting a suntan.
Yeah, pneumonia quite possible, I think. St Johnstone with just over 5 minutes to hang on with their 10 men offside against Roddy Grant.
At Dens Park tonight, St Johnstone beat Dundee by 1-0. Dundee failing to score again. Would you believe it? Dundee's last league goal was scored on April the 18th versus Ayr United some 596 minutes ago. They have a problem finding the net, don't they? Bookings, well, Kane, Boland, Griffin were booked, so was Adamchuk of Dundee, and George O'Boyle was sent off tonight. First half action areas, there it is. Well, most of it went on in the middle of the field, as you can see. And it was the same sort of story in the second half. Up at Dens, Davy Provan is with man of the match Paul Kane and the goal scorer tonight, Philip Scott.
Paul, just a few minutes ago, John Robertson described this as a big, big win for St Johnstone. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, definitely. It puts us 4 points ahead of Dundee, and they've got a hard run in their next 3 games. Delighted with the win. Philip scored the goal. Just come back for injury. Nick Dazovic pulled out today, so it's a squad game, which is proved today.
Is it good to see this man back in the side? He gives you another dimension, doesn't he?
That's right. Returned today and scored. Hopefully can get that return every week.
Philip, how did it feel to be back? Because you've had a terrible time through injury.
I only found out this afternoon when Nick Dazovic came in with a back problem. I actually didn't think it would start because Keith O'Halloran I thought would maybe start, so delighted to get a start and get this injury worry over.
Do you think that'll build the confidence a bit? Because it's always worrying, isn't it, when you go 2 games without a goal?
Yeah, that's right. We haven't played particularly well. Even today, we fits and starts again. It's good to get a win against your local rivals. As Paul says, that's 4 points ahead of Dundee now. I think we're in 5th, so that's what we finished last year. So hopefully we can go forward and get a few more wins in the next couple of weeks.
Did you always feel that 1 goal might win it tonight? There were very few chances out there.
It's mostly the same against local rivals. 1 goal's normally in it, so I predicted 1-0.
Paul, the gaffer's a hard man to please at the best of times. What do you think he'll have made of that performance?
Well, we're still going to see him, so just if you ask me in the next 5 minutes when I go in there, I'll tell you.
I'll do that later. Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
St Johnstone happy players tonight. Charlie, they thought they would win it 1-0 and they did win it 1-0.
Well, it's fair enough. I thought it was very even. I didn't think it was a classic, obviously. I thought it was a lot of easy ball given away for no real reason. No great imagination, no creative skills. I thought, as I said at half-time, St Johnstone were the better passers of the ball. What they did is that they didn't try to do anything too out of order, you know, too glamorous, should I maybe say. This is a good effort from man of the match, Paul Kane. But I always say in wet nights it's always better to test goalkeepers on the floor, but this is a great challenge. A big thank you will be played from the St Johnstone teammates for Darren Dodge the first half, taking the block, but also taking a bit of pain into the bargain, and that's what you've got to do to get 3 points. Roddy Grant will be disappointed, he doesn't head it down, he normally scores these, but they can be happy. They've got 3 points, but Dundee, I tell you what, it's a tall order when you miss chances like this. He's actually offside, but Preston then plays him onside. You'll see him here in the left back position, he then runs back, plays him onside, and when you don't take these chances, Jim, there's one thing that comes at the end of the day, nothing.
And that is the story of life at this moment for Dundee, Charlie. The longer it goes on, the less chance they have of actually breaking the deadlock in any game.
Yeah, this is actually not a bad ball in the end from O'Boyle. But what happens is you lack confidence. And then your forwards, when they lose confidence first, that's the most worrying part of the game. And the next 2 or 3 games we know are very difficult for them. They've got to start scoring goals. But most importantly, this is a quality finish. That's a quality finish, there's no doubt about that. It's actually behind him. He gets a little break of the ball. But what you must do as an attacking midfield player or a striker is react. You must react first, and he does that. And not only does he do it, he makes it count, and it's a clever goal and a quality goal.
And he knew what he wanted to do right away. That was a chance and a good free kick from Madison.
That was decent pace on it. I think Alan made it a wee bit more glamorous looking what it was. But this is an incident which maybe outraised George O'Boyle. He raised a hand, he raised it twice, and if you do that, you get a red card. And I have to say, it might be a bit harsh, and George O'Boyle might think it's harsh, but it's a red card offence. And Keith O'Halloran here should really have wrapped the game up at 2-0 for St Johnstone.
So St Johnstone's night, and rightly so, would you say?
Well, I thought they edged it because they passed the ball better, but at the end of the day, they'll be happy with the 3 points, and Dundee still to score a goal.
Well, Paul Sturrock didn't look too happy there from those pictures as you saw, but he's at Dens Park now and he's speaking to Davy Provan.
Paul, congratulations. St Johnstone have their first 3 points on the board tonight. Will you sleep a bit more soundly tonight?
No, I don't think, not really. I didn't think it was a great game, and I feel some of the things that we were able to achieve last year as far as passing the ball we've forgot about, and we've got to get back to being the type of team we were last season.
Philip Scott again made a huge contribution to you tonight. Very few midfield players are prepared to go into the box the way he is.
Well, it's, you know, we do key ourselves off in the midfield with using him in that position. It was a difficult game for him tonight also, because it's his first game of the season. He's been out a long time with hernia trouble. But I'm pleased he's got the goal, and I hope that now confidence will come into his game.
Is that why you took him off towards the end? Was he feeling the pace a bit?
Well, we're down to 10 men, and you know, I didn't want him to pull something late on in the game, especially when it's his first game of the season. So more precautionary. I took him off to make sure we were still a wee bit solid and that he had no problems.
Your old mentor Jim McLean was saying to me just a few days ago that even this early in the season, managers are thinking about relegation and how to avoid it. Is that a fair comment?
Oh, there's no doubts. I think there'll be there's two teams that will win the league, and the rest of us will make sure we're no last. I think the financial drain in every club to be the 10th team is just so strong now. You just cannot afford to be that 10th side. That's how difficult it makes it for everybody. But as I said, if we can get back to thinking about how we played last season, getting back to trying to achieve the things we did, I'm quite confident we'll stay out of that area.
Is it too early at this stage to be setting targets?
Oh, definitely. I'd like to get everybody fit again and everybody well again, and get the squad back to competing with each other tonight. Dasovic comes out this morning with a bad back. McMahon's missed the game. You know, and we finish up having to change the side around from what we probably had worked on the whole week. So it's difficult. I'm confident we'll get back to on the rails again very soon.
Now, Giorgio Boyle was shown a red card tonight. Can you give us your opinion of that without getting yourself into trouble?
Well, I haven't seen it, so there's no point in making any opinion about it. I'm saying I see, you know, it was very difficult to see what happened there. It didn't look very much where I was standing. But I'll make a determination when I see it on the TV.
Well done tonight. Thank you.
Right, thanks.
Paul Sturrock there with Davy, playing his cards close to his chest, wasn't he? St Johnstone still have good players to come back into the side, and that's good news for Sturrock.
Yeah, of course. Kernahan, of course, is very experienced and did well last season for them. I think they'll get better and better. They are a difficult team to beat. They've only let one goal in 3 games. They don't score a lot, but I would have to say I think if they're going to push in the top half of the table, I think they need to buy a pacey striker just to give them a variety, because I don't think they have enough variation in their game yet.
But Charlie, as long as Dundee keep missing key chances in games, they're going to go nowhere this season, aren't they?
Well, of course, but the disappointing here, you see it again. I mean, he gets in a great forward position. He gets lucky because Preston plays him on. But they're probably saying to themselves, well, if only that could have fell to Tommy Coyne or Eddie Annan when he was on. It doesn't. But if you miss chances like that, Jim, you end up in the bottom rail, and you're fighting your cause every week. They've got Celtic to play next week at home, and then they've got Hearts to face. And it's a tall order, even at this early stage of the season.
Yeah, the tests only get tougher, don't they?
Of course they do, and if they don't score in the next game, it just gets harder and harder, and the confidence gets drained. But Jockey Scott as a coach is very attack-minded. It doesn't always seem that way, but he'll be working on it.
Philip Scott has attracted big interest from a variety of clubs, in England especially. Yeah. And on tonight's evidence, it's easy to see why, isn't it?
Well, he has. He's got a quality that we don't have too much of in Scotland. His timing of a run forward is excellent. He's actually in maybe a bit too early. But it's reaction. I mean, that is the normal reaction of a top striker. And again, you know, at this level, there is not enough of that. This lad was, Paul Sturrock was telling me last season, was getting a lot of interest from England, and you can see why with this quality. He doesn't score enough goals, but I think in maybe even a bigger team, this guy could play, and he could score a lot of goals.
Paul Sturrock, Charlie, said he hasn't seen the Boyle sending off. He might be watching it right now in the away dressing room at Dens. Here it is, Paul, if you're watching. Now, you say he should have gone. It's a bit handbagged at dawn, isn't it?
By the letter of the law is don't raise your hand. There's the first one, which is the most important. They have a little tug, there's a hand up, protection. He knows where he is, so he gives him a slap. Now, there's no great malice and there's no great heart in it, and Adamczyk wasn't too clever in what he did. But that is the offence. If you raise your hand, you must go.
He had to go, and he did. Well, we'll have more reaction from Dens Park in a couple of minutes. The best of yesterday's action coming up in just a moment, but tonight at Dens Park, Dundee lost to St Johnstone by 1-0. Jockey Scott, needless to say, is a man with problems. He's with Davy Provan.
Jockey, your thoughts on what clearly is another disappointing result for you tonight?
Yeah, very disappointed. I mean, plenty of effort. Possibly that's the best we've played in terms of passing the ball to each other. But just general know-how to break down defences, you know, especially when we're down to 10 men. And again, losing a bad goal.
Why do you think you're finding it so difficult in the last third of the pitch? Because you have a few useful strikers up here.
Yeah, but it's just something that we've found difficult this season so far. It's we've had 1 or 2 chances. I mean, Darius Adamchuk has a really good chance in the first half and he doesn't bury it. We've never had the luxury of being in front in any of the games we've played so far. So until such time as that happens, then we're always going to find it difficult.
Are you worried with games against Celtic and Hearts coming up that you might become detached at the bottom even this early in the season?
Well, obviously it's a concern that we haven't had any points or any goals, but we just got to keep working hard to try and rectify it in the training and hope that we can carry that onto the pitch.
Is it too early to say that the chairman's going to have to find some money for you?
The chairman's already told me there's money available. It's up to me to use it wisely. We've looked at a couple of players, we've spoke about a couple of players. Unfortunately, our clubs are not willing to deal at the moment, so all we can do is keep trying.
The players took a bit of stick out there tonight. Do you think the Dundee fans could be doing a bit more for the team?
Well, it certainly doesn't help when the fans are on their back all the time. I can understand the frustrations of the fans. They're disappointed the same as we are, but at the same time it doesn't help the players when they're giving them stick and they're jeering them and booing them, because the players' confidence is just not there at the moment and they need a lift the same as everybody else.
Jockey, thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you.